bit about the show in here because we have some, as you can see, some amazing artists. We have a lot of ground that I want to cover and things I want to share with you, so I'm going to try not to talk so much. But there's a few people I have to thank and introduce. First, I'd like to thank Chase Villaret and his wife, Anna, because we know that it's always those people that help the husbands out. But Chase sponsored this event, so that's how this all could happen tonight. So there's 8 artists in this show. Steve Hasslock, Connor Burns, Dennis Sipsiorski, Bernard Mattox, Nathalia, Toledo. There's 2 artists. Debbie Weaver, where are you? There's a chair for you over here, Debbie. Greg McMillin is not here tonight. He's out selling his art on the road. Nor is Jason Wilson, who is from Hattiesburg. It's okay. It's okay. He's selling art. So what's going to happen right now is I'm going to have a few of the artists talk. My dancers are going to dance. The musicians are going to speak and play a special piece for us. Some more artists are going to talk. My dancers are going to dance. So this is going to be a little bit. Little people, if you want to sit on the floor in front of the chairs, you're welcome to do that. Anybody's welcome to sit on the floor. Or there's no more chairs, Lisa?
No.
You're right there. Okay, so first up, I'm going to have Steve Hasslock, it was Steve's idea to have this all clay show, and these are lots of his friends and colleagues that he's known for many, many years, and I think it has been so cool for me. As a dancer, the dance world's very small, and we all respect each other and help each other, and to watch these people work together and be so respectful and admire each other's work, but come and Steve hung so many people's work in the show, and his got hung tonight at 6:30. Yeah, so it's been a great experience for me and some great human beings sitting over here. And so Steve, what would you like to say?
Well, echoing what Kelly said, thank you all for coming. It really means a lot because we never know when we do this hard work to put something together whether somebody's going to show up or not. So thanks. It's really appreciated. And like Kelly said, it was really great because I'm so passionate about clay, and all these ladies and gentlemen are too. And it's nutty, but I think it was last year I'd been doing clay work for 50 years. It's like, how'd that happen? But I started out like most young clay people, working on the potter's wheel and doing this and that, and moved away from it to start hand building. And that's really where I found my passion and was able to, I grew up in Denver, so I went to a small college up in the mountains that had a faculty that could have made it wherever they wanted, but they chose Gunnison, a small mountain town, to do their thing and be a teacher and provide a great department for people like me who were really interested in doing clay. I first touched clay when I was a second semester senior in high school. All the bells and whistles went off, and I knew that's what I wanted to do more than anything, and that's what I've ended up doing, and stayed in Colorado till I needed something bigger, and was lucky enough to go to school in New York State College of Ceramics, which is an iconic clay school, so it was really cool to go there. And they were the darling of the SUNY system, so they had resources that lots of other colleges don't have. So it was huge kilns and a clay worker's paradise with big kilns, and the more you did, the better they liked it. And so that's where I really started doing major league kind of a lot of hand building. I got away from the potter's wheel, and then I've just been pretty much exclusively hand building ever since. But this show was a little different because, well, the paintbrushes were a total lark. We all have a friend that she's in her 80s, Mary Fisher. Mary Fisher. She lives outside of Austin, West Texas, but she's still doing shows on the road with her sister, and so she had some small brushes. So that's what inspired me when I bought a handful of them. Then I went on my own and took off with it, and that's how I ended up with the big paintbrushes. I've always hand built, and the sunflower, I met my match today. It was supposed to be up higher, but it was so damn heavy, we couldn't get it any higher.
With 3 men holding it up.
Yeah.
And Craig here to help.
So we got it up by the hardest, but it was a challenge. And the paper pulp, years ago I did a little bit of paper pulp when I was at Alfred. They had in Rochester, they had a company, Flower City Tissue Paper Company. We went in there, they had a vat of paper pulp the size of this room with all this machinery making tissue paper. So I guess about a year ago I started making some paper pulp, and that's what that one is there. Just the raw paper pulp with clay pressed into it, and then you got to put fans on it in this neck of the woods for it to dry. Otherwise, it'd still be wet. And the Jesus one there is kind of an homage to the Mexican santeros that do they do paintings, but mostly sculpture of the religious ceremonies and things. So I'm kind of all over the place, and I do the Mayolic and paint. One of the things that really was difficult for me being a potter was, as you can see, I really love the wet clay, how the visceral, just hammering it and throwing it. But with the potter's wheel, it's a whole different deal, pretty much. But the wet clay is one thing, and then that's great. And then it goes to the kiln, and then it's dead. It's like, now what do I do with it? The surface, I never made the connection until I came to New Orleans in '79, and that's when I started painting, and it was a perfect marriage of seafood on the serving pieces, and jumping off with the lemon branch on the jugs, and so I just love what I do, and thank y'all for supporting us so we can play.
Hello, thank you guys. My work's all on the back wall, and I'm just going to give you a little insight into the brain. Don't be scared. It's all organic related. My background is physiology. My master's degree is not in art, it's in biomechanics. So I've spent a little bit of my world somewhere else. But I always loved playing in the woods as a kid. My dad worked with clay, he said I showed no interest. And it makes sense. I was a kid, I wanted to play in the woods, I wanted to run, I did not want to sit in a room. But I always knew that clay would be in my life. I love going to art fairs, I love seeing the creativity of other people. And so I finished my master's degree, got a job, took a class at the Community Arts Center, started my PhD, never took another class toward my PhD, and started playing with clay. So it's a warning, take a clay class, it's fun, but it may distract you from anything else in life. I wouldn't trade that for anything because I love what I get to do. It's a joy to get to go in the studio and just create things that I enjoy doing, and it really makes me happy to come here and see that the joy I feel in the studio comes across in other people's faces. So I really appreciate you guys coming and taking a look, either smiling or frowning, at least you have a reaction, and appreciating that. So thank you. I'll be here if you have any questions. I really do appreciate everything Kelly does. She is the curator, orchestrator, herder, whatever you want to call her. She's kind of got us all together. And really appreciate you sponsoring this so we can make this happen, and for you guys coming, because it kind of wouldn't have happened if you didn't show up too. So thank you.
Sophia is going to dance the Black Swan from Swan Lake, O'Deal, and after that, you guys are up. Right, Sophia, any second. KFortier Studios, and the studio is 35 years old, and we have nonprofit ballet company, which is Ballet of Petrie, which is also 35 years old. And my dancers are the only non-professional people that get to participate in these events, because this is our sanctuary where we work every day. So these dancers are here every day, working with me. And Sophia just turned 17 this past week, so I'm very, very proud of them. They work really hard. And Andy, so you're gonna talk first, or you can play some
Sure, I'll talk first. Hi everyone, I'm Tristan Junel. This is Andrew Page on the saxophone. It's really nice to be here, and
to be surrounded by disciplines other than our own. Musicians can tend to get a little too hyper-focused in their own craft, so it's nice to engage with other forms of expression. So tonight, I picked out a piece of play for you that I wrote sometime during quarantine. It was an odd period of time where things were like halfway open. I was still out of work because I primarily work in music venues. But during that time, there was a little abandoned parking lot very close to my house that a friend and I started turning into a community garden for the neighborhood. And as we started developing this, the neighborhood kids noticed I would play this weird synthesizer drum machine for them while my other friends would start gardening. And a good friend of mine, Forrest Wright, who works under the surname Optic Tempo, showed up with just all these buckets of paint for the children to paint the pavement with in the community garden. Forrest is known for doing a lot of beautiful murals in New Orleans, and since then, a bunch of squatters took over the community garden. It's a bit of a dump now, but still, all of that paint from the children and Forrest is in there. So as I started writing this piece, and I usually start writing first, formulate music, and then reflect on, well, what does this remind me of for a title? I decided to title it A Garden of Paint for my friend Forrest. And originally it was written for solo classical guitar, added another secondary instrument later, most commonly violin, but today Andy is going to play with me on the alto saxophone. So, I hope you enjoy.
Well, Bernard had to go to the bathroom, so he walked out, so I wasn't supposed to say anything. So I'm not from Louisiana, I'm from Wisconsin, and I asked God to send me someplace warm, and Jesus. When I was a kid, my dad worked in clay, so I'm second generation. He worked in Kohler. They made sinks and toilets and urinals. He'd bring clay home, he'd sneak it out in his lunchbox. That's my first opportunity to work with it. I wanted to be an art teacher, and I got lucky and went to art school and did ceramics. And one of the things about ceramics is we were very poor, so ceramics was a cheap material, and it was soft, and you got to make it hard, which is unlike a lot of materials. So I really like doing that, and I spent, my daughter's here, so I spent 9 years in college trying to figure out what to do. And I was a lifelong learner, so I told my parents just looked at me like, are you ever going to get a job? But they were real supportive, and I was very lucky. And when I came to Louisiana, I taught at Nichols State. I taught ceramics and photography. And then I came to Southeastern and taught there. And talking to some of these people, there's like almost 200 years of people working in clay. And clay is such a great material. And if you can't find something you like in this show, what the hell? There's so many different things. So I feel really lucky. My background is interesting because I played in a polka band. I worked on a riverboat, I worked in a sawmill, I was a bouncer in a bar, I played sports in college. And I was a server, I wore dresses, I was Catholic, and well anyway, And the only art I ever saw as a kid was in church. The statues and all of the candles and the chalices. So I think it had something to do with my background and my living. And my I was trying to think how many greats. Great grandmother was an Acadian, and I'm mostly German and Polish, but 1/8 of me, whichever, is Acadian. And I realized that coming to Louisiana, I felt really comfortable being in Louisiana. My wife does clay. My daughter wave your hand, wave. She does clay. My son does clay, and I do clay because we love to do it. So we just love the material, and if you get an opportunity. The other thing I thought about was, after 2 hurricanes, my stuff is still standing in our yard. So if you're looking for something that's hurricane-proof, ceramics may be the material. In history, ceramics is one of the only things they can dig up and still find, because everything else is gone, right? So if you want something that's going to last, ceramics is it. Don't buy Steve's heavy thing or you'll hurt yourself. But I want to thank Steve and all these great talented people for letting me be part of the show, and I know your butts are starting to hurt, so great.
Y'all can walk in. But before I talk about that, real quick, I'd like to thank our culinary artist for tonight is a dear friend and chef Peter Dijon. Are you here, Peter? You're right there. Wave your hand. The next piece we're going to do was choreographed a couple of summers ago by an alumni dancer from Ballet of Petrie, Madeline. Where are you? Where are you, Madeline? Over in the corner. Madeline was in college at the time, and she was here for the summer, and she was working in the studio. And I love when my dancers come back, and I encourage I have these girls teach class once a week so they can be on the other side of things, and we work on that. And anybody who's interested in doing choreography, I encourage that and give them an opportunity to do that. So when Madeline was here, Madeline's a great choreographer now. She worked on this piece, but the piece she was working on anyway, it was used as for the process of it and not necessarily for what was coming out at the end. And it was an experience for her to give dancers an opportunity. Do you want to speak on it for a second?
At the time I was working with a lot of postmodern professors, and we were working on less of what you see and more of the dancer's experience on stage. So it was less about creating something with formation that comes together and looks beautiful. And it was more about the choreographer's intimate process, right, of creating and crafting something and transforming one shape into many shapes, which is relative to clay, I guess. And then the dancer's experience of using that, making it their own, transforming it. I don't remember completely what we were doing because it was a long time ago, but I bet it was fun. So, I don't know. I guess that's all there is.
The girls actually asked me to do this piece, and because we're a classical ballet studio, I do allow them to branch out and work in other disciplines of dance. So it's very good.
Bird of prey, bird of prey, flying high in the summer sky. Bird of prey, flying high, gently pass on by. Bird of prey, flying high, am I going to die? Bird of prey, flying high, take me on your flight.
very honored to be among these incredible artists and educators as well. So I'm Nathalia, I'm from Ecuador, and I've been here about 5, 6 years. And my work is right there by the door, at the corner, the big space. And what I want to share through my art is something that, part of the idea that everything is alive. If you can go one day to my country or to South America, you can go to the Amazon forest, and people there believe that everything is alive, that minerals, plants, and things, you can put an intention, power, and force. And I like to believe that, especially with clay, that is a very special substance that comes from earth. You can put your intention and you can put soul into that. So all the work you see here today, I think is completely alive, and it's not only to be decoration, at any place, but I believe that you can feel things when you see it. You can have a conversation with an artwork that also can bring you joy, can bring you love, can bring you, creativity. And among us, we have so many incredible artists, not only musicians today, and the music is beautiful, really. I've been enjoying that all the night, like a portal, that we can pass your music and we can see all this work and see that beautiful, you can go beyond what is the everyday life. And, when I put faces on my stuff, I think that you can feel it, they are feeling you, they are seeing it you. And if you bring them to your house, you can not only have a little piece of every person that is here sharing their, their gift, but also that you can really have a relic that you can pass on to your family. And even when clay is very fragile and it's like a medium that, sometimes can break. And also clay is something that, has transcend time. And we can admire today, especially in museums, stuff that was done 2,000, 3,000 years ago. And also clay brings you a story, like the story of the person, with your hands, with your, you can live, part of yourself in every piece of work, because clay has memory, and I'm very happy today to be here, and I have no words to say. And if you want, at some point to talk to me about my work, I'm very happy to share a little bit more. The painting I have there is the representation of a volcano that is called a Chimborazo in my country. And we believe in South America especially that mountains and volcanoes are alive as well, and that we should honor them as the giants of Earth. And well, this one is special that is called Apu. Even when the Everest, that is the highest mountain in the world, it's very high. This Apu, this mountain or volcano, well, because we are in the equator, it's like the closest point from Earth to the sun. We are very close to the sun. So the energy that you can see when you go to this place, I was trying to transmit into this painting, and you can see in the body of this spirit, all the meaning behind is about life, nature, the adoration of the sun, the moon, the water, and the condor that, is a special bird for us. Well, the eagle is for people in North America, the condor is for us. So I hope you enjoy not only my work, but the work of everybody here. And, well, thank you for being here.
Yes. That was loud. Sorry. I'm loud by nature. Yes, I'm an attorney. I don't create anything because I'm an attorney. It's very humbling to sit here with these wonderful artists, but I just want to tell you a little story tonight about why my wife and I decided to support tonight. I have 3 wonderful children, Laurel Kate, Jack, and Violet. If you ask Laurel Kate what she wants to do when she grows up, she's 7, you'll get a different answer every single week. She doesn't know yet. If you ask my 9-year-old son what he wants to do when he grows up, he's narrowed it down to professional football player, lacrosse player, baseball player. If you ask Violet, my 11-year-old, what she wants to do when she grows up, she wants to own her own ballet studio. She didn't get that from my wife and I. I asked her, Violet, why do you want to own your own ballet studio? Because when I'm there, I love it, and I love Miss Kelly. She believes in me and she supports me. What more could a parent ask for? Out of a ballet studio and an art studio to get that kind of support. So it was an easy decision for me and Anna to support tonight, and I ask the same of you. Don't let me be alone. Lend your support to these great artists tonight.
Charlotte, ready? I guess not. Debbie?
Come on, Deb.
Well, Bernard chickened out on
Bernard's standing very close to the door.
So I'm gonna rat him out right off the bat, so. Well, everybody knows that pretty much I never stop talking except when I get in front of people, so this is not easy for me. I am probably the newest person as far as being involved in the clay scene because I was an artist for years ago and went to art school, but I was an illustrator and a painter, and unfortunately I didn't have the good experience the dentist did. My ceramic teacher turned me directly off from clay, and that really broke my heart because I really wanted to do it in the 70s when I was in school. But I chose another path then, and then I chose a completely different path when I realized I wasn't disciplined enough as an artist to save money and put money away, and I was going to be a starving artist for the rest of my life. So I got a job with a pension, and I became a police officer for 35 years. Put my art totally on hold. And when I retired a couple of years ago, 5 years ago to be exact, I went and took a few clay classes at a very small local museum and a few friends that I knew that did it, and kind of have self-taught myself the rest of it. Luckily enough, I'm in a small community where people like Kelly and Craig McMillin and these gentlemen, Steve, that I just met the other gentlemen and ladies, well, I know Nathalia, but other than that, where it's kind of close-knit, and I am always trying to learn things from people that have been doing this forever. So, like I said, I'm the new girl here probably, so thank you so much for including me in your
I wasn't going to speak, but just briefly, I'm Bernard Mattox, and I just had an epiphany when Steve was talking. And he said he'd been doing this for 50 years, and I did the math in my head, and I'm at 52. So what it does say we're probably several hundred years of experience. I used to do a lot of public speaking. I taught at Tulane for many years, and I taught at Xavier. Moved here in 1990 and went from teaching college kids to 5 to 11-year-olds at the Art Association for years at the Muddogs. So, and now I just kind of work quietly. So I was really good at public speaking, and then I just faded away. But it's good to be here. And Kelly, I have such incredible admiration for what you do. I mean, you're just an amazing person. The publicity that you do, this whole thing is just incredible.
That we have is Charlotte is going to dance Odette from Swan Lake, a variation from the second act.
Thank you.